Hello and welcome back to KSP Real Solar System campaign. It's been a while now since the last episode was released, but I'm back, and I'm back at the space station here just to have a quick checkup on how the two current inhabitants are doing. That is Victoria Tamarkina and Stanley Marshall. Now they are out here to do a mission, the this first space station mission, I think it is. Yes, that's part of it. That's gonna have to take... They're gonna have to be in orbit for 21 days to complete that, and then return home safely. But I also want them to complete the mission to stay in space for 1 year, and we still have 352 days to accomplish that. Now, I don't have enough life support, or supplies rather, on board here to stay for that long, but that just means we'll have to send up a resupply mission. And though I still got quite a bit of time, 262 days before I have to do that, so we got plenty of time to do other things instead. One of the things I want to do is get back to the interplanetary exploration business, and I'm going to kick that off again with a Jupiter mission. Now, I've been to Jupiter 2 times before, but on both of those missions I just did regular flybys, and while that does yield a good amount of science, there is a lot more stuff to explore in the Jupiter system. And so this mission is going to go into a Jupiter orbit, and it's going to not only explore Jupiter itself, but also the moons, the 4 Galilean moons that orbits Jupiter. To pull that off, I need a lot of Delta V, and this rocket certainly has a lot of it. And it is a bit inflated, the Delta V figure there, because I think the RCS fuel is counted with on the final stage, although that is not just going to be used for velocity change, but I'm pretty sure that this should have enough Delta V nonetheless, and even though I don't really know how much velocity change you need to insert yourself into a Jupiter orbit. I also did my best to make the probe as light and lean as possible, because just a tiny bit of extra weight in the final probe stage can have a huge impact on the total amount of Delta V. And basically the entirety of the weight in the final probe comes from, well, there is some weight in the probe body itself, but it's mainly fuel, both the RCS fuel and the fuel from the rocket engine that the rocket engine uses on the probe. And they use the same type of fuel. Again, that is why the Delta V figure is a bit inflated on the final probe. Right, so I'll have to use one ignition more than I had really planned to do to boost myself into a proper orbit. But that is fine, it just means that I won't have any spare ignitions left here, in case if I screw something up. So I'm going to warp a little bit ahead and to this maneuver node, and it's just 229 meters per second. You can see that we'll have almost 11 kilometers per second of Delta V after that. Well, we should have contact with the ground station any minute now, so we can get ready for the orbital insertion here. I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, I guess I don't have any contact. I can afford to wait a little bit beyond the maneuver node here, but yeah, I can see that. It's not within line of sight, but it should be any minute now once I pass over the horizon here. Yeah, this is always a bit of a problem when launching probes and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to wait quite a bit longer than anticipated, but surely I should be reaching. Oh, am I not going? Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, it just took a lot longer than anticipated. But that is alright. It's not really a big deal. And is this... It's even... yeah. The J2 engine is actually stable on its own, even without these Ullage thrusters, but I'm going to use them anyway, because why not? And they did not fire. Okay, well, there we go anyway. So I'm just going to take a look at the periaps here and wait for that to reach 140 kilometers. Cut. Oh, why aren't you? Oh. Why didn't it cut? Ah. Oh well. I guess it's not too big a deal, but it's a bit annoying. I was hammering the X button there and it didn't respond. Anyway, let's have a look at Jupiter here. And I'm gonna set up a maneuver node on the night side here. See where that will take us. Yep, there we go. That is, yeah, I'm getting pretty used to these Jupiter encounters, although I think I can do a little bit better than this, because the orbit I'm boosting myself up to here is, I guess I'll have to do some adjustments here. Okay, so, as always, getting an encounter with Jupiter is not too difficult. The difficult part is to get a good encounter. But I think I have a pretty good encounter right here. So I'm going to do a 6.6 kilometer per second burn to take me in the general direction of Jupiter, I guess. And I'm gonna have to do some course corrections on this, because the inclination relative to the moons there aren't that great, but I believe I can make some corrections for that. Now, more importantly though, I need to get very deep within the gravity well of Jupiter to make an orbital insertion feasible, because then we can then it won't take too much delta V, basically. So yeah, it's just Oberth effects, I think. But anyway, it's only going to take 1500 meters per second to get this sort of elliptical orbit, and you can see that this is going to be quite suitable for any future exploration of the Galilean moons you can see here. So this particular orbit is in range of all the 4 moons, and I'm gonna have plenty of fuel at the end of this burn, so we can do a lot of exploration for this from this. Another thing to keep in mind is that I need 6.6 kilometers here, and this together should be almost 6.8, I think. Not sure. So I may have a little bit of spare delta V in the tank. So I would like to use all of it before we leave the sphere of influence of the Earth, because that cryogenic fuel is not going to last for very long. But I tried, well, I've done a lot of messing around with this maneuver now to see how good of an orbit I could get, but I'm not sure if it's possible to get any better inclination from just this burn. I could do, well, yeah, we'll see how I do. I'm gonna have enough fuel in any case. So I'm getting into position for the burn here right now, and I think I'm going to need about, it's going to be a little 8 minutes of total burn time. So I'm gonna have to fire the engines at roughly 4 minutes, maybe a little bit after that. And the fuel in the tank here is actually stable. That is a bit surprising. Anyway, I do have a radio connection. Oh, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to remove the focus view on Jupiter there, but I do have a radio connection for the entirety of the burn, luckily. So I'm going to see if this... There we go. That's the thrusters working right there. And this engine is not going to burn for that long. The majority of the burn is going to be done with this little engine at the end here, which is also a Hydrolox engine, but it has significantly less thrust and power than this J2 engine. Getting very close to engine cutoff air, and I'm going to launch the next engine immediately. Come on, here we go. Yes, successful ignition on the third stage engine. And this is going to burn for almost 8 minutes, so we have some time to spend and kill out here in orbit, I guess. But you don't have to watch all of this, of course. And here we go. Now let's see, I'm going to cut the engine any minute now. Oh, maybe it's burned out actually. So, no need for cutting the engine. And we didn't get... Oh, we missed by quite a bit, I guess. But let me just see if I can't set up a course correction maneuver immediately and see if I can't get much closer to Jupiter than that. In about 17 hours, I'm going to do another course correction burn. Well, not another course correction burn, the first course correction burn. Anyway, we just have to detach the rest of the rocket here and oh yeah, we just need to... Yeah, I thought for a second that the rocket engine here was going to be stuck in the fairings, but that wasn't the case. So I'm gonna just warp ahead here, and we have plenty of electric charge. You can see us leaving the Earth here. Now, if you take a look at the map, the course correction burn is going to take us quite close to Jupiter, although it's still going to be a pretty poor inclination here. This burn is just to get us close or deep into the gravity well of Jupiter, and I'll worry about the inclination once we get into another position, once we get into interplanetary space basically. So just need to warp ahead here. It's just a 55 meters per second burn, and there is more than enough fuel here to do that sort of burn. The engine is pressure fed, but I still need to use ullage, I think. Well, I got RCS for that, so no worries there. The burn is going to be a fairly short burn, because this engine is actually much more powerful than it needs to be. Yeah, worked a bit wrong there, but no worries, no worries. Okay, so let's fire this up. Oh, that's going very fast indeed. Okay, yeah, that's a lot more powerful than I had anticipated. So let's just use the RCS here to get us in nice and close. The RCS is also quite powerful for a probe of this size, I think. But if we get into... Let's see, if we get into 50 million meters here on the periapse, can have a look at how much delta V we need to go for an orbit, and that is 813. I'm gonna have to get a bit better in orbit than that. But yeah, I think you're gonna get even closer to Jupiter here and get more benefit from the over-Earth effect. And now that the Jupiter probe is on its way, it is time now to launch a resupply mission to the space station, because they have about 1 month of food, I think, but that's not obviously only going to last them for 1 month, so we need to get on that resupply. For the resupply mission, I built a very simple spacecraft that has one and only one purpose in life, and that is to bring supplies to the space station, and it can't really do anything else, but it can bring a lot of supplies. So that is going to go up on a standard Beaver 1 booster. The resupply vessel doesn't only bring water, food and oxygen to the station, but it also has quite a bit of excess RCS fuel, and that is always needed at the space station. The space station consumes a large amount of RCS fuel, mainly while performing docking operations, because the space station, as it turns out, has to help out with the dockings quite often, a lot more often than I would like, but that is just the way things are, and I really should get better at designing good dockable spacecraft. I did have high hopes for a smooth and nice docking on this particular mission. After all, it's just what should be a routine resupply mission, but as it turns out, there is some sort of, I don't know if it's a bug or something I've been missing, but I could not figure out a way to detach the fuel tank from the main spacecraft at the front. Or actually, I did figure out a way, but that was not until after I had docked the thing, of course. So that is just my luck, I guess. So I had to dock the entire thing, and that, as it turns out, is a major pain in the you-know-where, because most of the weight of the spacecraft is at the back with the fuel tank, while the only thrusters, RCS thrusters, are at the front, so that is incredibly unwieldy, and it was a major hassle to get this thing docked. And after a lot of trouble, I did manage to get this docked. Now, you can see that I have actually managed to detach the fuel tank behind it, and for some odd reason, I think the fuel tank thought it was coupled to the docking port on the resupply vessel for some reason, so I had to actually detach something invisible from the docking port here. I don't know any better way to describe it, but basically when I right-clicked, it showed that I could decouple the node. So right, if we look at this right here, it says undocked. Yeah, anyway, that doesn't matter now, because the fuel, the supplies are at the station, and you can look here and see that we have 259 days of supplies. So this has approximately the same amount of supplies as the entire station. So this is a perfect fit for a resupply vessel. Just looking at the amount of science points we have 637, and I do wonder if that is something you can spend on something useful here. Look at the advanced rocketry, for example, has the Merlin engine, which is kind of nice, but it doesn't have a lot else. So, and this is not really needed, and yeah, could go for bigger SRBs though. Maybe that's a good idea. Or I can go for some new wheels. Looking down here, it's not really much that I need, I think. So I'm going to go with the advanced rocketry, mainly to get the Merlin engine, I think that's a pretty nice engine that we may utilize on some spacecraft or rockets in the future. But that will be it for this episode of KSP Real Solar System Campaign. We successfully launched yet another Jupiter mission in this episode, and that will enable us to explore Jupiter in much greater detail than we have been able to do in previous missions. Not to mention that we'll have a closer look at the Jupiter moons. We also had a successful resupply mission at the space station, and that is going to enable the crew to stay for well over a year in space before we return them back to Earth. And even though this space station is finished, I have plans for another space station on the drawing board, except that space station is going to go into orbit around the moon, and that is something we'll probably start looking at in the next episode. Not to mention that we'll maybe get the first results from our Jupiter probe. But until then, take care and bye.